I went through a lot of plateaus over my fitness journey. I've had periods where I plateaued for months, honestly, a year, a whole year without making progress. And it's only until really recently that I actually managed to break through that plateau. And the time I actually broke through that plateau, it was at the end of January of this year, beginning of February, when I first started got my gym membership because I used to train here at home with my dumbbells and pull up bar and dips. That's when I actually slowly started to break through that plateau, that big plateau that lasted more than a year. It's because I understood different concepts, and even right now, I almost entered the plateau again, but I managed to. I'm slowly working on breaking through it with the last method I'm going to talk about today. So the first thing that I did a few months ago that led me, I just want to give a disclaimer again. It wasn't me doing one thing that helped me break through a plateau. It was a combination of all of these things. Combining all of them is what finally helped me to burst through the plateau. Like I implemented one thing, and yeah, I made a little bit more progress, but yes, I was still plateauing. And then I added another thing, and yeah, things got a little bit better, but I was still plateauing. Then another third thing, then a fourth thing, then a fifth thing, and that's when I burst through the plateau. When all of these things I'm going to talk about in this video, when I actually combined all of them, that's when I broke through the plateau and I started making progress for 5 months straight, every single session, and gaining strength at a rate that I'd never done before. I gained strength at a rate that I'm still surprised by. For 5 months, I progressively overloaded on every single session, and it was just amazing to see. So the first thing I did is improving my form. I really had a period where I was really focusing on form, and I still am. And I really pride myself on my form, on how pretty and efficient and effective my form is. I really go do a full range of motion on every single exercise. On dips, I don't just go to the point where my upper arm is parallel to the ground. I go as deep as my mobility allows on every single exercise I perform. I do as deep as I can and need to go. On dips, I go, my shoulders almost touch the bars on dips because that's how deep I can actually go with my mobility. Of course, if I try to go even deeper than that, yeah, my shoulders will start to roll forward and my risk of injury will increase if I did that because it wouldn't really be hitting my chest anymore. It was more on my tendons and all those things. That's not what you want. But I really started to focus on using a deep range of motion in every exercise and controlling the eccentric, going slowly onto eccentric. The eccentric is the part of a movement where the muscle is actually being lengthened, the muscle is actually being stretched. That's the eccentric. And I control the eccentric on every exercise, and I pause at the end of the eccentric at the most stretched position of the movement, and then I keep performing the movement. I control the eccentric on every single exercise, and I go as deep as I can. And that's something that greatly helped me because before I used to just use whatever form allowed me to do the most reps or move the most weight around. And that isn't necessarily the best way to go about it. If you're a power lifter and your main goal is to gain strength, yeah, maybe that can be effective. But even power lifters, they make sure they use good form for their goals. To focus on your form. That's one of the first things you should do as a beginner. Second thing is just switching exercise from time to time. There are, of course, if you want to progress, and the periods of time where I made the most progress is when I was just doing the same exercise for months. But there's a point where you should sometimes just switch an exercise to avoid overuse injuries and just break the plateaus. Sometimes just going from one exercise to another can help you just burst through a plateau. Honestly, if you do an exercise for months and months and months, that's great. But sometimes you maybe make a quick this switch try another exercise just for a few weeks to get a new stimulus. And then you can go back to the exercise that you used to do. But switching exercise from time to time is actually it can be a very productive thing to do. Of course, don't do it every single day. No. Really, really rinse out the gains you can get from one exercise and then you can switch to another one. And then if you really like that exercise, you can come back to the old exercise after just a few weeks after doing it. You should just get a new stimulus. Sometimes it's all it takes sometimes. Just getting a quick new stimulus and hitting the muscle group in a certain way that you haven't hit it in a while can help you just burst through a plateau. So simply just switching exercises, going from, I don't know, chin ups, from pull ups to chin ups, is what could help you to burst through a plateau. Going from bench press to dips is what could help you to break through a plateau. Or going from dips to bench press is what could help you to just burst through a plateau. I wouldn't recommend you overthink it, but if you could consider it sometimes. It's not always this. It's not always the fact that you've been doing exercise for a while that's making you plateau. But it could be. It's a possibility. Another thing is just diet. Bulking, especially bulking. Right now I'm not bulking. I still made a lot of progress. But if I was bulking, I would be making even more progress. And I'll probably get to a point that's in not pretty soon, in a few months or maybe a few years, where I won't really be able to really progress that much without bulking. When I'll get further, I'll become a late and intermediate, or maybe an elite. I'll say even late and intermediate. I'll probably get to a point where I can't really make significant progress without bulking. So you need to eat a healthy diet. And if you can, right now, bulk. I'm not really focused on building muscle as much right now, but very soon I'll start bulking again. In a few months, I'll definitely bulk again because I know how powerful it is, and I'm not one of those people trying to tell you, oh yeah, don't bulk or bulking is dumb. Bulking is a very effective way to build muscle, especially when you're young. I don't want to be that 50-year-old who's still bulking on and off, but I want to get all my bulks done by the age of 30. I think it will be great. I just bulk in my 20s, and then at the end of as I'm becoming 30, as I'm becoming older, I can say, okay, I've bulked enough. Now I'll just maintain this weight and just try to rinse out the gains I can still get from there. But bulking can be very effective. And right now, it could be the constraint. It could be the thing holding you back. It could be that your training could go extremely well. Could be very productive. You could be recovering very well from your training. You could be sleeping extremely well. And your constraint might just be your diet. Maybe you're not eating enough protein, or you're just not eating enough. You're not eating in a surplus, or you're eating in a deficit. You can build muscle whilst maintaining your weight, or not necessarily gaining weight, but just being at a maintenance. But building muscle at a deficit, that's a totally different thing. Especially a big deficit. That's totally different thing. So just understand that if you're currently trying to lose weight, you're probably not going to really build muscle. You're only going to do that maybe if you're really fat, really fat, and you're slowly losing weight, and you're also doing shunting on the side, yeah, you could build a lot of muscle because you already have a lot of fat in your body. But especially if you're very lean, if you're like 10% body fat, sub 10% body fat, and you're trying to maintain the same body weight, you're trying to stay in that lean state and build muscle whilst being in that super lean state, it's very unlikely that you will succeed. You can maybe main gain whilst you're on 14% body fat, 15%, 13% body fat. But doing that on 10%, 9% body fat is a totally different thing. Right now, I would say I'm around 14% body fat, and I'm still able to build muscle whilst not really bulking. But even if I decide to bulk, I would make even more muscle. So that's why I'm going to bulk very soon. Nothing's just recovery. Are you sleeping enough? Are you letting your muscles recover between sessions? Are you recovering? Are you leaving at least 2 days for each muscle group to recover before the next session? Those are simple things, but are you actually doing it? Really question that. Are you actually recovering correctly? Are you really getting your 8 hours of sleep? And 8 hours of sleep doesn't mean 8 hours in bed. If you want to sleep for 8 hours, you should be in bed for at least 8.5 hours, and definitely more. 8 hours and 45 minutes, 9 hours. I spend 9 to 9.5 hours in bed. So at least 8 hours, if at least 8.5 hours in bed. That's what I would recommend you. Recovery is extremely important, especially for someone who's training hard and putting so much strain on your body. You need to recover well if you want to get stronger and build muscle. And then another thing that's still about recovery, deload week, and that's something I'm doing right now. Like I said, I've progressed for 5 months straight. 5 months straight of just progress, getting super strong, and I really impressed myself with how fast I got, how fast I progressed, how strong I got. But recently, over the last week, week and a half, I progressed slowed down drastically, and actually started a little bit, like kind of losing strength a little bit, and it kind of worried me. I thought, wait, what's actually the reason? Why am I plateauing right now? Even though I'm pretty much doing everything correctly. And I remembered I'd heard of a concept a few years ago, the concept of deloading, of taking a week off from training, or taking a week where you don't really train as hard, where you don't really train as hard at all. You reduce your volume, you drastically reduce your intensity. And I remembered, oh, that's probably what I need right now. I probably need a deload to refresh and recuperate and recover, and then go back into this progressing. So next week I'm going on a school trip, and that school trip I'm not really going to train really hard. I'm going to still do push-ups every day and squats every day. But yeah, because I don't even have a gym there, maybe I'm going to go run on runs. But I'm not really going to train very hard, and that's going to be my deload week. That's what I'm going to do. And hopefully afterwards I'm going to be able to progress again. I think I will. So I don't really have so much experience with deloads, because that's going to be my first real deload in my whole lifting journey. Because in the past, I didn't really need to use a deload, because I wasn't really putting so much strain on my body as a beginner, because I wasn't really training close to failure. But now that I am training to failure on every set, my body really is showing me that I need deload, that I need to let it recover. And yeah, that's all I have to say here. Hope you found this video valuable. If you're interested in my fitness coaching and you want to just learn more from me, want me to help you build a physique that you can be proud of, then click the first link in the description. Don't worry if it's comfort, chase it.